Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Daily Gwei Refuel, where we recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano. It says the 25th of April, 2024. Alright everyone, let's get into it. So kicking off today, we have some news about the Hong Kong Bitcoin and Ethereum spot ETF. So these things will begin trading on April 30th, which is a few days from today. And I remember I covered this, I think like maybe a week or two ago, and how I talked about how it's kind of funny how Hong Kong has a spot ETH ETF before the US does, and obviously it's still kind of a coin toss whether the US is going to get one in May. It'll eventually get one, but you know, these things are going live and going to start trading before on April 30th, which is long before that May 23rd deadline there. I mean, that I say long before, but like it is a pretty substantial kind of amount of time when you think about the fact that in crypto, time seems to move so slowly and so quickly at the same time. But what I really wanted to talk about with regards to this was something that I probably going to be monitoring is the inflows into these ETFs. Now, I know that people have said that these are basically a nothing burger because mainland China can't access these. It's just going to be the Hong Kong market from like a flows perspective. But that's not really what I'm interested in. What I'm interested in is flows into each of these assets. Like how much percentage of the money goes into BTC versus goes into ETH. Is it going to be a 50-50 split? Is it going to be like a 80-20 split to BTC's way? So on and so forth, right? And the reason why I'm interested in this is because I think it will give us a nice little indication of the demand for, or I guess like the split of what like an ETH BTC ETF will look like in the US. Because as you guys know, one of the Bloomberg guys famously said that he believes ETH is small potatoes compared to BTC, and I obviously completely disagree with that, given that ETH is, you know, 1/3 or so of BTC's market cap. There is a huge amount of demand for ETH, I believe, in the TradFi space, and ETH appeals to the TradFi crowd a lot more, I think, than BTC does. But obviously, you know, they have their opinion. The Bloomberg ETF guys, I have my opinion, and we won't know who's right until we actually have an ETH spot ETF in the US. But as I said, we could use the Hong Kong spot ETFs as a proxy here, especially because these are both going live at the same time. Like both BTC and ETH spot ETFs are going to begin trading on April 30th. So I'm very, very curious to see what the split looks like, honestly. And I think we're going to have to wait. Like it's not just going to be, you know, look at 1 days of inflows and get kind of data from that. I think we're going to have to wait like a month, 2 months, 3 months, see what kind of inflows, what the inflows look like, and see where they go to. Honestly, I have no idea what the split's going to look like. I mean, I would say that it's probably going to be heavier BTC than ETH, just because of the fact that BTC is more well-known, but also BTC has a, you know, a general kind of like larger market presence, I would say. But I don't think it's going to be a split like 90-10 or something like that, where it's 90% BTC, 10% ETH. I could see like 70-30 at quote-unquote worst, where it's 70% BTC, 30% ETH. But lower than that, it doesn't really seem like something that I think will play out there. I'm going off like the market cap ratio here, and that's what I could see kind of happening there. But I'd be pleasantly surprised if it was 50-50. I honestly do think it should be 50-50. Like BTC and ETH to me, in anyone's portfolio should be 50-50, and I believe this for a long time. Maybe not anyone's portfolio, but what I mean by anyone is like the vast majority of kind of the mainstream here, because they've heard of Bitcoin, they've probably heard of Ethereum by this point, and then they've got all these other assets to kind of bet on. But if they want to play it safe, I believe that the only safe assets in crypto, and by safe I mean things you can hold for the long term and have relative certainty that they're still going to be around and still be valuable and still go up in value over time, is BTC and ETH. And I believe that for normal, so to speak, or people who aren't really plugged into the ecosystem, the best portfolio split for them is probably 50-50 BTC and ETH, honestly. And especially if it's in something like a retirement account where, you know, US investors buy ETFs and put them in their retirement accounts, I definitely think a 50-50 split of BTC and ETH is probably the best play for them there. And I as much as, you know, as much as I am bullish on ETH and way more bullish on ETH than I am on BTC, I couldn't in good conscience go to a, you know, normie investor who rarely pays attention to crypto and say to them, you should put 100% of your money in ETH. Because what's going to happen if I do that is that they're also going to be watching BTC. You know, they'll probably watch both BTC and ETH, and they'll be like, oh, BTC went up this much, but ETH didn't go up this much in like a, you know, 3-month period or something, and then they'll get FOMO over that, and they may start overtrading because of that. So as long as they had 50% of both of those, you know, 50-50 BTC and ETH, I reckon for most people that would be enough, because they'd be like, oh, okay, BTC is going up today, I'm happy, or okay, ETH's going up today, I'm happy, and that's how it usually is. And obviously every investor is different here, but I'm talking about I'm generalizing, but I'm like talking about a wide set of investors here, and definitely across different cultural kind of places as well, because there are some cultures that put much more value on something like a digital gold than they would on a store of value slash tech play, which is definitely what Ethereum is or what ETH is. BTC is really just like a store of value play and a digital gold play. And there are some cultures that really love gold, like much more than others out there. And to them, it may be a natural fit for them to just buy BTC and that's it. But then there are other kind of cultures and other communities around the world that really love tech. So for them, it's better just to buy ETH. I mean, I fall into that camp where I'm like, I understand why BTC is valuable, but it doesn't really appeal to me. I'd rather buy ETH. I'd rather get involved with the Ethereum community, stake my ETH, do all these different things with my ETH. But these days, I used to do a lot more with my ETH than I do these days. Obviously, as you guys know, these days I just basically stake my ETH. But that's more of a function of the fact that I really want to stake my ETH because I believe it's a really great ROI. Because yes, I'm only getting 3.5% or so on my ETH, but it's ETH, and I plan to stack that ETH. I don't plan to sell that ETH, so I have that calculus of it being worth more over time, and I get to manage it all myself, and I get to have fun doing it. It's a different calculus here. So as I said, every investor is different. But yeah, anyway, enough rambling about that. I am looking forward to seeing what this split looks like. Maybe I'll actually won't see this until I come back from my break, which is a nice thing, because as I said, this goes live on April 30th, and the last refuel for quite a while will be tomorrow. And I don't know if you guys read this in the Daily Gwei Discord channel, but I decided that I'm actually going to take a break from the refuel until May 23rd, starting tomorrow. And as you guys know, May 23rd is the approval or denial date for the ETH ETFs, and I thought that it was just like a poetic date to come back. So I'm actually going to not do a refuel until May 23rd. Now, May 23rd is not a Monday, I believe. It is a Thursday. So I'll be back on May 23rd after tomorrow. As I said, tomorrow will be the final episode before I take my break there. But I just thought it would be poetic to come back on that day. And it gives me a nice solid break, I think, from tomorrow till May 23rd. And then I'm going to do a full cold turkey break after next week. So next week, I'm still going to be around on social media, no refuel. But the week after that, I will definitely be cold turkey up until May 23rd. And I'm going to come back on May 23rd. I'm going to re-enable everything, Discord, Twitter, everything, and check. And I know I'm going to get bombarded with stuff, but I'm kind of excited about it to see. Because as you guys know, I haven't taken a break in, the last 7 years or whatever it is. So I'm excited. And I'm very excited to see what happens on the 23rd. Like, if the ETFs are approved, I'll come back and be like, so guys, did you study May 23rd? I think that's what I'm going to tweet out. But anyway, enough on that. Let's move on to some core dev related news. So we've got the latest Verkle implementers call that just happened. Number 17, Josh Rudolph here has a breakdown of everything they discussed, from stateless clients and removing Ethereum's state-related scaling bottlenecks. Now, this is the usual update that Josh usually gives, so you can give this a read. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. Testnets are still coming along nicely. There was a Portal Network presentation given. For those of you who don't know, Portal Network is something that's been around for a little while now, but basically it's this initiative to essentially create a decentralized P2P network of Ethereum archive data. At least from my understanding, that's what they're trying to do here, especially if we start expiring data, beyond blobs. So it's essentially that kind of network that they're trying to build there. And I believe that it would still apply, or could still apply, to something like blobs as well, not just the normal Ethereum archive data, but also blobs, which would be very, very cool there. But yeah, just wanted to shout this out for you guys. You can go check it out. I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you to do so. All right, there's been a lot of talk around anti-correlation penalties lately, and I remember I covered the research that was done by a bunch of people in the Ethereum ecosystem, and then Tony also put out a research post visualizing what anti-correlation penalties could look like in practice. And he put out another tweet today with a nice image saying, anti-correlation penalties incentivize staking node operators to enhance their setups. Those with negative correlation benefit over those with positive correlation. A diverse, fault-tolerant setup costs more, but should pay off through economic benefits from diversification. So essentially what this would do, or could do, these anti-correlation penalties, beyond just making it so that we can have a more decentralized beacon chain, is essentially force the bigger node operators to harden their setups, and to harden them in a way where essentially they're not running it all on the same, AWS server, for example, or they're not running it all on the same the same data center, wherever it is. Like even if it's owned by themselves, they're not just running all of their kind of infrastructure there. Now, obviously, in a max EB world, this is going to look a little bit different because right now, I think like validator, they do like a validator split where you'll have like 10,000 validators here, 10,000 there, 10,000 there. But in the future, if you're consolidating all that down to only maybe like a few hundred or a few thousand validators, then from there you'll split it up differently. But also you may split it up based on ETH stake. Except ETH stake instead of validator count. There are different ways to do this here, but yeah, the hope of the anti-correlation penalties is really to incentivize these more enhanced setups so that we can basically get the nice positive externality of a more decentralized beacon chain, even if it is the same node operator. Because, for example, you could have a node operator that is like Coinbase, a single node operator that runs all of their validators. I don't know if they do this, but let's just say they did this. And I'm not trying to pick on Coinbase, but just illustrate an example here. In the current paradigm, let's say that they run all of their validators and all of their node infrastructure on the same, on the same hardware, in the same data center, or on the same kind of cloud-based kind of hosting service here. Now, in an anti-correlation penalty world, the goal is to make it so that they are forced not to do this. So they are forced to split up their setup. So even if it's still one single node operator, we basically reduce the risks of this cloud service going offline, or this cloud service banning this operator or seizing these validators and so on and so forth, right? We're thinking about like the tail risks here, like not the immediate risk, but like the tail risk that could happen. Low chance of happening, but still could happen. And that's what they're trying to do here with anti-correlation penalties there. But yeah, I figured it was worth just bringing that up today, as it's quite interesting research to focus on. All right, next up we have a fresh blog post from Georgios, who works on the Reth execution client at Paradigm. So he said, "We have made great strides in the world of blockchain scaling in the last 10 years. It's time to go further. Reth's path to 1 gigagas per second and beyond, where we present our roadmap for scaling Ethereum." So this is a big blog post. I'm not too big, but like this is a blog post here that basically discusses how Reth is going to scale up to 1 gigagas per second, and essentially why they're pushing for this, the fact that they're not just going to push for it on ETH L1, it's also going to be at ETH L2, and this aligns with what Base is trying to do right now as well, with getting to 1 gigagas per second. It seems like a target that the L2s are trying to push as like something to aim for here. And also, Georgios mentions that we should stop using transactions per second to measure performance, and we should start using gas per second as well. And he expands on that in the blog post here. But what I really wanted to focus on was this nice little chart, or nice little table that Georgios put together, comparing the different EVM chains and what their current gas per second is. So you can see here that OPBNB, which is a layer 2 that on top of the Binance Smart Chain, is set to 100 megagas, I should say, per second here, with a block time of 1 second and 100 million total gas per block. Then you have BSC, which is second at 46.6 megagas per second. And then from there, you have Polygon, Avalanche, Arbitrum, Base, Optimism, Conduit, and Ethereum L1 that are substantially less. So Polygon and Avalanche and Arbitrum are between 7 and 7.5 megagas per second, Base at 5 megagas per second, and then Optimism, Mainnet, Conduit at 2.5, and Ethereum L1 at 1.25. So you can see that there is a huge order of magnitude increase of OPBNB. And from my understanding, OPBNB runs using the same infrastructure or the same technology, the OP stack, that something like Base does, that something like OP Mainnet does. So I guess what Georgios is kind of illustrating here is that we could probably safely push Base and OP Mainnet up to that 100 megagas per second without compromising too much on, I guess, like performance, or I guess stability, I should say, because this is obviously performance here. We need to worry about stability and reliability. I didn't actually realize it was that high. That's huge, guys. I mean, that's 20 times more than Base right now. That's almost 20 times more than Arbitrum 1. It is 50 times more than Optimism Mainnet, which is crazy. And even like BSC is much more as well. But BSC is a layer 1, but I'm just trying to focus on the layer 2s here. And obviously Polygon is the POS chain, Avalanche is a layer 1 as well. So just focusing on the layer 2s, really, there's no reason why Base, OP Mainnet, Arbitrum 1 can't scale up to being 100 megagas and beyond. As I said, like that 1 gigagas per second is the target here, and that's going to bring with it huge amounts of scalability, guys. I mean, I know right now the data is free, but there's still some kind of like execution costs But let's just say their base scales another 20x from here and goes to 100 megagas per second over the next few months. That will basically allow for pretty cheap fees up until like, I don't know how many tens of millions of transactions per day or something like that, and then obviously the fee market will kick in and fees will go up again. But I mean, that's only 1/10 or 10% of where they want to get to. They want to get to 1 gigagas per second here. So there is a lot of scaling to be done. And this is just on the EVM side, guys. This is not on the non-EVM chains either. And I think that before we get to anywhere probably close to 1 gigagas per second, the blobs are going to start being the bottleneck again because there'll be so much data being posted. So then we can increase the blob size and the blob count. So this is what I mean, when I've been saying over the last few months around the golden age of Ethereum scalability. This is what it really is. These layer 2s are working on their own scalability. Layer 1 is already super scalable right now because blobs are basically free, but then when blobs are in high demand for long periods of time, the community can basically say, okay, well, we need to increase the kind of size and count and possible count of blobs here, and we can do this safely, and we know that it's actually going to make an impact because blobs have been at a certain price for too long. It's too expensive for layer 2s now, so we need to scale some more there. But anyway, enough of my talk on this. You can go read this blog post for yourself. I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you to do so. All right, speaking of L2s, just wanted to have a bit of a discussion around them generally. So I put out a tweet today reiterating this point where I said, the best thing about L2s is not scaling, as this is table stakes, but the L2's ability to experiment and push things way harder than we could ever do at Ethereum L1. This is the real value of the rollup-centric roadmap, building and innovating without restrictions. This is Ethereum. So you guys know that I call Ethereum the infinite garden, and I have called it that for a very long time now. It's basically this infinite field of experimentation where there's like a Cambrian explosion of things that just pop up. Now, of course, Ethereum L1 is extremely limited in what things can pop up now because of the fact that it is dictated by its scalability, where essentially the chain is not scalable enough to meet anywhere near enough demand by design. And then also it is very low on the experimentation side of things, or very kind of like inferior on the experimentation side of things, because it's limited to the EVM, and it's limited to the EVM inside that scalability bottleneck, and then inside the consensus and P2P bottleneck as well. So that is why we've experimented as much as we can pretty much on ETH L1, I think. And then with L2s, we can start experimenting, a millionfold from here. And the reason why I call the scalability table stakes is because if you're building an L2, you're going to be scalable to begin with. Like, that is already a given. That is the bare minimum to being an L2, basically. Like, if you're an L2 that isn't scaling, then no one is going to use your L2. They may as well just use L1, right? So the scaling is table stakes, and that means that it's boring. Like, to me, it's boring. I mean, to me, it's like, okay, it's a given that these L2s are going to scale. What else can they do, right? And it turns out they can do a lot, because we know that there's non-EVM L2s already live today, with many more coming, that are going to be able to allow developers to write smart contracts in languages other than Solidity, allow more flexibility at the VM level, and allow for new apps to be born that just aren't possible with the EVM. And I think that this is going to give birth to all of the new use cases that people are like, oh, what's to be excited about in crypto right now? What's the new use case? It's just meme coins right now, so on and so forth. But I do think we're going to be seeing a lot of really cool innovation happening across a few different verticals. One of the biggest ones is basically decentralized social media, or social-fi in general. We've already seen a hint of it with like Farcaster and Lens and a few other things out there, but that's definitely going to be a big thing. Privacy, I think, is going to be huge as well. There's going to be a lot of experimentation around privacy. Gaming, NFTs fall into that bucket as well. That's going to be big. And then there's like decentralized identity. There's potentially things like decentralized file sharing, which, guys know that I'm generally like bearish on, because we already have something like BitTorrent, where, we already have decentralized file sharing, but people are doing different experiments with it, and I'm all for seeing more experimentation happen. But there is just so many things, and there are things that I can't even think of at this point in time, and no one can really think of, that will come at some point from opening up this new field. You can imagine But Ethereum as an ecosystem is the infinite garden, but Ethereum L1 is like the castle in that garden. Let's imagine that the garden is infinite, but at the center is a massive castle. That is Ethereum L1. But as big as the castle is, it's not infinite, right? And it is limited in what you can do. The castle's already built. You have to basically, build within the confines of the castle. Maybe you can build a new piece of the castle here, or maybe you can do something in the garden, or maybe you can add some more decorations. You can add some new furniture. But really, you're confined to that. Whereas outside of the castle, we have this infinite garden, which is the L2s, where you can do whatever you want. It's fertile ground, so to speak, right? Where you can experiment as much as you want. You can build whatever you want. You're not limited to anything except really the rules of the universe, really. I mean, like the physics, quote unquote, of the universe there, which really, when it comes to L2s, and specifically rollups, is just posting your data and proofs down to Ethereum L1. That's really all you kind of need to do. And then everything else is pretty flexible. And that's what we mean by the modular roadmap as well, obviously. But this is why we call Ethereum the infinite garden, because it allows for this infinite experimentation. And it allows for it to happen at scale in a really, really big way there. But the last thing I'll say on this as well is less about experimentation and more about scalability. As I said, scalability is table stakes, but not all L2s are created equal. Everyone goes on about ZK being the end game. And right now we have both ZK EVMs and optimistic rollups. And the most used chains right now, the most used L2s are optimistic rollups, obviously. Like Arbitrum 1, Base, OP Mainnet. Like if I go to l2beat.com here and just look at the TVL of alone, you've got Arbitrum 1, OP Mainnet, Base, Blast, Mantle, they're all built on optimistic rollup technology here. Mantle's an Optimium, which is a bit different there. But then you've got the Starknet, which is ZK rollup, Manta, Optimium again, ZK Sync and Linear, which is ZK rollups. But really, the top 5 is dominated by optimistic rollup technology here by far. I mean, it's not even close when it comes to TVL. And then in terms of activity, it's not even close. You can see activity Base, Degen Chain, Arbitrum 1, Ethereum are the 4 here, and then you've got ZK Sync Error as the ZK VM, but really in the top 8, there's only 2, ZK Sync Error and Linear here. The rest of it is optimistic rollups. So yes, while ZK may be the end game and it may be the thing that everyone uses eventually, right now we still have optimistic rollups and they're still evolving, they're still getting better over time, and no one's really giving up on them. Even though the people try to say that they're inferior, they cost more, so on and so forth, maybe they do, but right now they're winning because they're offering the best user experience. They're the things that people want to use. That 7-day withdrawal period that people talked about is not even an issue anymore because we have so many different bridges that you can use, right? And the cheaper portion of it hasn't actually played out yet, because in order for ZK rollups or ZK VMs to be cheaper, that what they need to do is they need to bring down proving costs, and they also need to amortize the proving costs, which means that they need to get more activity. So it's a bit of a chicken and egg problem for them. But I do strongly believe ZK is the end game, and I do strongly believe that pretty much all of the optimistic rollups will eventually become ZK chains. But for the foreseeable future, there's optimistic rollups are still going to dominate, in my opinion. And I've said this for a while now. I think I said this back like 2 years ago when everyone was going on about the fact that optimistic rollups were obsolete. I was like, no, they're not. Like, there's more to a chain than the technology that it's using. It's all about the ecosystem, the community, the network effect. And Arbitrum 1 and Base alone have huge network effects at this point in time. And it's only going to continue growing from there. So for them, they're more focused on growing their user base than they are about the underlying technology. And they're not really hitting the technology limits of optimistic rollups yet. So they may one day hit those limits and be like, okay, well, now we just become a ZK rollup or something like that. But right now they're not. And I think that's very encouraging to see, because it means we've got a long way to go with experimenting on that tech side as well. But really, it comes down to what users are preferring. And right now, they prefer optimistic rollups. You can't argue with the market when it comes to that, I believe. All right, finally here, I just wanted to shout out that I did a podcast with Jessie, Eckel here. We did this a couple of weeks ago. It was a really fun one, about an hour's worth of content here talking about Ethereum. And we tried to keep it rather high level with regards to Ethereum and L2s. We really wanted to keep this episode as high level as possible, because we wanted it to be able to be digested by a wide range of people, not just the people that, watch the refuel, I guess, like the experts, you guys out there. We wanted it to be digested by basically everyone. And Jessie did a really great job of keeping the conversation grounded, because sometimes, or a lot of the time, I can go off into the very technical, very deep dives, because that's just my thing. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. So if you are looking for more content from me, maybe you want to listen to this on the weekend to tide you over, because obviously there's not going to be any refuels after tomorrow until May 23rd, then you can check this out. I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you guys to do so. And now I've got a few minutes left here. This will probably be a shorter episode than usual again here, but I got a few minutes left. I just wanted to discuss one thing about the ETH ETFs in particular. So it's I think between now and May 23rd, there's going to be so much conflicting information with the ETH ETFs. Like I saw today that Reuters posted an article that Walter Bloomberg or something on Twitter posted saying that, the sources believe that the ETH ETFs are getting denied. And then I read the article, and it was literally the same information that has been out for at least a month now. So that's why you're going to see more of this noise happen, because it is topical. It gets clicks. So you're going to see more of this just regurgitated shit happening. So I would highly recommend you to follow the sources that are actually good sources. And I think I'm one of them, but I'm not going to be around. And this is why I'm bringing this up, because I'm not going to be around to comment on this stuff. And by the time I come back on May 23rd, it's going to be approved or denied. So you're going to be flying blind for the next month, guys. Like, I'm sorry, this is just the way it's going to be. But, as much as I kind of make fun of or sometimes joke about the Bloomberg guys, they are good people to follow. They're always got the most up-to-date information, and they don't really, I haven't seen them spread any fake news. They have their own opinions, which I disagree with, a lot of the time. Around ETH, but they generally stick to the news, so they're good to follow. James Seifert and Eric Balchunas, who I've talked about a lot on the Refuel, follow those guys. Eleanor Tourette from Fox Business as well, she's really great. You can go follow her as well, but just be very, very wary of everything that you're reading with regards to the ETH ETFs leading up to May 23rd, because I know for a fact there's going to be lots of crap around. There's going to be so much noise around it. It's going to be market moving at some point. You may see stuff come out that I've said that will look as a positive signal for the ETH ETFs, but then someone else will say, no, it's not, and then Bloomberg guys will lower their odds of approval to like 5% or something. Yeah, I'm just joking on that one, but you know what I mean. Like, you need to stick to the information. You need to stick to the facts. Don't look at this other crap. Don't follow these clickbait accounts. Just try to digest the right information here, because unfortunately I will not be around to guide you guys on this. I will not be around to make sure that you're getting the right information, but I think that you guys have the skills to, to find the information yourself and to be skeptical when you need to be skeptical there. But I think on that note, that's going to be it for today. So thank everyone for listening and watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the newsletter, join the Discord channel, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Thanks everyone.